Welcome to the second part of our MSG Toxicity Exposed series. I'm Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, and I've been teaching people about how to avoid toxins in the food supply and how to enhance your life with outstanding nutrition and superfoods for almost 25 years now. And in yesterday's part of this two-part series, I talked about the existence of MSG in the food supply, different hidden forms such as yeast extract, autolyzed proteins, hydrolyzed proteins, torula yeast, and other hidden ingredients. And I showed how food manufacturers intentionally deceive people by claiming they have no added MSG, but then they'll load up their foods with yeast extract, which contains about 14% free glutamate, which is, that's MSG, just without the sodium salt. And it's the glutamate that actually causes the neurotoxic effects, as we covered. I mentioned the book by Dr. Russell Blaylock, who was one of the trailblazers in this area. I give him tremendous credit. The book is called Excitotoxins, The Taste That Kills. And that book can be found all over, book resellers everywhere. And it covers also aspartame as well as MSG. I strongly recommend that book. But today we're going to cover the defenses against MSG. What actually works to block the effects of MSG, or if you start to experience the effects, which can be horrific migraine headaches, it can be facial flushing, it can be increased blood pressure, or a feeling of pounding in your head. And yes, I've experienced all of those. I'll talk about that in a minute. Then if you have any of those symptoms, you can take some of these supplements in order to help block any further damage from MSG. And there's one supplement I'm going to mention here that you can take in advance. Well, I suppose you can take all these in advance, but one in particular has an almost complete blocking of glutamate. And that's the one I discovered most recently thanks to my AI engine, the one that my company has developed called Enoch, which refers to the lost book of the Bible. That's another podcast. But you can find Enoch at brighteon.ai. You can sign up there for the wait list. It's about to be released for free, and it's an incredible research engine that's trained on the world's most comprehensive collection of information about nutrition, food toxicity, health, medicine, disease cures, remedies, food production, off-grid living, home gardening, all of it. It's the best AI engine in the world, and yes, it's free of charge, and it's ad-free, it's non-commercial, etc., etc. So sign up for that at brighteon.ai. Now, just quick background. I mentioned this in part one, but for those of you who haven't heard that, I'll just say that I have been blessed. I put the word blessed in quotation marks. I've been blessed with the gift of being highly sensitive to MSG. And I've been that way at least since my early 20s, maybe sooner. And so when I eat MSG, it causes horrific effects. I get the migraines, I get the head pounding, and these headaches can last 10 hours, sometimes 12 hours, sometimes longer. And sometimes they can be just very, very bad. And so this is one of the things that got me into clean food. This is one of the things that made me who I am today, the Health Ranger, because I had to really scrutinize food ingredients. I had to find out what was causing this, and I had to make sure that I did not expose myself to it. And through a lot of trial and error and some research and reading books like the Dr. Russell Blaylock book, I came to discover all the ingredients that contain MSG. And that's what I covered yesterday. Again, yeast extract, hydrolyzed proteins, torula yeast, even soy sauce, by the way, contains glutamate. And a lot of fermented foods do as well, because the bacteria then sort of release the glutamate and make it more easily absorbed. So because I have this sensitivity, it also gives me an instantly checkable quality system on finding out what works to prevent glutamate toxicity. So since various forms of MSG are difficult to avoid, whenever I've been exposed to something, sometimes by eating salad dressing at a restaurant, for example, or sometimes by having some food or some, snack foods that were flavored and sometimes even organic. And then I didn't realize, oh my God, I accidentally got some MSG or some yeast extract in that. Now, that doesn't happen to me anymore, but years ago, that did happen. But there is actually something that hit me recently, and it was natural flavors that was in an organic blueberry crunch bar. And they used some natural flavors of blueberry in order to try to give it a more enhanced taste. And it turns out that contained glutamate, and that hit me. But I was able to use these defenses that I'll tell you about that actually worked to reduce that. So, bottom line is I'm a human test subject for MSG toxicity and also what works. And I've been studying this, researching this for well over 25 years. And I'm about to share my best knowledge with you in the hopes that you can avoid MSG toxicity. And at the same time, some of these substances have a lot of other benefits when you take them. So here we go. Number one, if you start to feel symptoms of MSG toxicity, the head pain, the head pressure, facial flushing, increased blood pressure, things like that, take magnesium. And the best form of magnesium to take would be a drinkable liquid form so that it's absorbed quickly. If you can't do that, then take a magnesium powdered capsule and open it up and dump it into your mouth or dump it into a drink or whatever and drink it so that the magnesium can go to work right away. Now, magnesium alone doesn't reverse entirely, I mean, not even half, but it helps. And in combination with the other things I'm going to mention here, this has a very powerful effect. The other item that I strongly recommend is resveratrol. And this is known to help neutralize the oxidative damage caused by glutamate toxicity targeting your nervous system cells. So if you don't want to have your brain fried by MSG, which is, this is an attack vector on humanity because it's in so many of the processed foods. It's actually dumbing people down and frying people's brains every single day. Well, if you want to be protected against that, take resveratrol. And resveratrol is available in various supplements. It's derived, I think the most common source for nutritional supplements is actually Japanese knotweed. But it's also found, of course, in red grape skins, but only on grapes that are not sprayed with fungicides, because it's the presence of fungi on the grape plant leaves that results in the creation of resveratrol by the grape plant. And that's why there's resveratrol in grape leaves, which is also a medicinal superfood used in many cultures, including like Middle Eastern cultures. They use the grape leaves are used throughout many types of cuisine, and they're really rich in resveratrol, but also the grape skins. And grapes are, natural grapes, the red grapes with the seeds, which have proanthocyanidins. Red grapes that are natural are some of the most potent superfoods on the planet. The grape skins, the grape seeds have the most nutrition, and the grape leaves as well. I've covered this extensively, by the way, in some of my work on nutrition. And the grape or the vine is the first fruit mentioned in the Bible, in the Old Testament. So interesting stuff there. Now, in addition to taking magnesium and resveratrol, then take L-theanine. Now, L-theanine is a form of an amino acid that's found in green tea. And I've done a special report about green tea that talks about all this. And L-theanine offers very strong cognitive support, and it helps block glutamate receptors in your brain. So it's better to take L-theanine before you're exposed to MSG, but if you've already been exposed, then L-theanine can help. But the thing that helps your body clear it out the quickest is NAC, N-acetylcysteine. This boosts glutathione production, which helps detoxify glutamate to help clear it out of your body. So if you're like me and you have glutamate sensitivity and you start to feel a strong MSG headache coming on, then you know you're in for like an 8-hour horrible roller coaster of pain. Oh my God, it's horrible. So what you can do is take these things I mentioned, magnesium, resveratrol, L-theanine, and N-acetylcysteine, or NAC, to help reduce that time and also reduce the severity of all of this. I've also found, and you might find this funny, but I've also found that eating watermelon helps, because eating watermelon is known to both reduce blood pressure. It's like the best food for reducing blood pressure. And eating watermelon, because it's so water rich, it also helps your body detoxify through urination. And having all that extra hydration also actually helps your neurology deal with the toxicity of glutamate or MSG. So, slam the magnesium and the resveratrol and NAC and eat some watermelon. All right, so those are things that you can do that absolutely will help. And they will help reduce the severity and the duration of an MSG attack on your neurology. But there's one other thing that I saved for last. And this thing, you're going to find it to be, I think, very surprising. This is a substance that I had not even heard of until a few months ago. I wish I had known about it 20 years ago, because I would have carried it in my pocket everywhere. It's that good. This substance offers a near complete blocking of glutamate receptors. And there's a lot of science on this and why it works and how it works, but I'll tell you it works. And I actually tested it. I used myself as a human guinea pig. What I did is I took some of this substance, which I'll tell you about in a second, and then I ate a stir-fried Chinese food dish made with loads of soy sauce on purpose. Normally, that much soy sauce would have given me a horrible headache, but I monitored my headache situation, for hours, just checking in, like, do I feel some pressure? Do I feel some pain? And it turns out, no pressure, no pain whatsoever. This substance offered a complete blocking of the glutamate receptors. It worked 100%. And what is this substance? You're going to be shocked to hear it, and I did not expect this. And once I tell you what this is, I'm going to go ahead and explain a little more about this substance. But the substance is methylene blue. Yeah, I know. Methylene blue. You've heard about methylene blue probably recently. It's become suddenly popular. I think RFK Jr. was using it. I know that some people across independent media are talking about methylene blue. It's become a popular supplement. Well, methylene blue, it's actually used in bacteria dyes for like staining bacteria for microscope slides. And in my lab and in my studio, I have microscopes. And, I've used staining techniques before. I've used iodine as a stain, for example. And methylene blue is also one of the stains. It's a very potent blue dye. Well, it also turns out to be a very interesting supplement. Now, let me back up for just a second. Oh, and I first heard about this from Dr. Jack Kruse, who uses methylene blue during brain surgery for his patients to help protect their brain cells. He bathes their brain cells in methylene blue. I'm talking about when he's got their skulls open and the brain's exposed and everything, and he bathes them in methylene blue in order to protect neurology against all kinds of damage, maybe oxidative damage, maybe other kinds of damage, maybe from lack of oxygen through the circulatory system. I don't know all the mechanisms. Dr. Kruse does, but he uses methylene blue to save people's lives during brain surgery. I mean, he's a brain surgeon. Well, my rule of thumb as the health ranger about dietary supplements is that I typically am not a big fan of supplements that are not agricultural in origin, right? So I'm a big fan of food extracts and herb extracts and superfoods and things like that. And I'm also a big fan of amino acids because they're naturally compatible with the human body, and certain peptides in peptide therapy are also generated by the human body, or analogs of them are. And so I'm all good with that stuff, but when it's something that is truly synthetic, or it's just mined out of the ground, which would be the case with zeolites, for example. I'm very skeptical about the use of zeolites as a daily dietary supplement. I have no problem using zeolites to bind with cesium-137, which is a radioisotope, and I actually have a patent on that. It's called Cesium Eliminator, and it's with the U.S. Patent Office from a few years back. Zeolites are really great at mopping up radioactive cesium. They're fantastic at it. So I have zeolites for that purpose, for emergency fallout situations, if there's a nuclear war, God forbid. But I don't take zeolites every day because they're made of aluminum. I mean, aluminosilicates, right? So aluminum is right there. And I don't want to create free aluminum ions in my stomach because of the exposure to the hydrochloric acid in my stomach. So I'm not a big fan of things that are just dug up out of the ground, that are minerals, inorganic substances, things like that. So I always take a very cautious view of anything like this methylene blue, which is not something that comes from a plant. Now, I'm a big fan of blue pigments in plants, and those pigments, I've talked about this many times, there's a category of dark pigments called anthocyanins that are very, very functional, and you find anthocyanins in blackberries and blueberries and certain dark berries, and also in eggplant skin, which is purple. And you'll find anthocyanins, by the way, in purple corn. Purple corn is more nutritious than non-purple corn. So if you have a choice, eat purple corn, but it's got to be actual real purple in the corn itself, not just like food dyes thrown into the chip mix or something. You know what I'm saying? Like it needs to be really purple from the corn plant. So I'm aware of the therapeutic effects of pigments that are found in foods and plants. In fact, my store, healthrangerstore.com, sells an anthocyanin powder supplement, and it's made from aronia berries and blueberries and all kinds of berries. It's a concentrate of the dark berries. So it's a really strong source of anthocyanins, and that's something that is highly beneficial for lots of different purposes. So I'm aware of the functional properties of, blue pigments or even black pigments when it comes to food. But to see something that is such a striking pigment that is a synthetic source, well, by default, I'm skeptical. So if you go to the American Chemistry or Chemical Society, the ACS, their page on methylene blue says the following. It says that methylene blue is one of the oldest organic dyes. It was first prepared in 1876 by H. Cairo, the research director of BASF, the German company. It was used as a cotton dye. And then in 1880, the microbiologist Koch established it as a medical stain. And it's also used as an indicator for redox reactions, a photosynthesizer for generating singlet oxygen. Hint, hint, right there, a photosensitizer. That's one of the reasons Dr. Jack Kruse uses it, for generating singlet oxygen. So, the body is electric. Many of the organs of the body have photosensitive cells, even though they're inside the body, etc. Photons are a form of communication inside the body, but that's another whole podcast. It's also used as a drug to treat methemoglobinemia. Methemoglobinemia. Oh, gosh. Sounds like you're missing something. That's not to be confused with mathemoglobinemia, which is when you can't count in fractions. Anyway, among other conditions, let's see, pharmaceutical grade methylene blue is now available. There are also blogs on the internet that talk about how methylene blue was used in World War II to treat malaria in soldiers. That's interesting. I wouldn't use it to treat malaria. I would use wormwood herb instead, but whatever. It says it was the first synthetic medicine used to treat illnesses in human patients. It's still considered for use in malaria patients. And, of course, many other uses that we're talking about. There are neurological conditions where methylene blue has been studied. It's been studied for Alzheimer's disease, autism, depression, neurodegenerative diseases, Parkinson's disease, and traumatic brain injury. And that probably explains some of the uses that Dr. Jack Kruse is familiar with. In many of these conditions, I'm reading from a blog here, researchers consider the increase in oxygenation in the cells as the supporting mechanism of action of methylene blue. The increase in oxygenation, remember it's a photosensitive singlet oxygen generator, right? So the increase in oxygenation increases cellular oxygen levels and respiration and increases production of ATP, the cellular energy. Methylene blue also decreases the oxidative stress caused by reactive oxygen species, and it protects the nerves from damage. Methylene blue can inactivate these reactive oxygen species. It can also increase metabolic energy, it can increase DNA repair, and it decreases neurodegeneration. And it's been shown to affect levels of neurotransmitters in our nervous system. It's an MAO inhibitor, which increases levels of serotonin, norepinephrine, and can increase acetylcholine levels in the cells. All right, so there's a lot of potential experimental research on this. And this mentions a French study where 2,500 cancer patients were treated with methylene blue. I guess they were trying to study it for cancer. At the end of the study, none of those 2,500 patients had developed influenza or COVID. It doesn't say what happened to their cancers. So maybe oral methylene blue is not a cancer treatment. I don't know. Probably it's just in the research phase. A lot of people are researching it. So I'm not saying at all that methylene blue is a treatment for any of these other chronic degenerative diseases. For me, it's too early to know. What I can tell you is it works to block glutamate receptors. And in my experience, it worked 100%. It was astonishing. And so for that reason alone, I now carry methylene blue with me, but I carry it in powder form where it's very, very tiny. I carry little tiny, like the size of pencil erasers, and they're not even completely full. We're talking like fractions of a gram. And that powder, I can put it in a cup of tea or a bottle of water or whatever. That tiny, tiny amount will protect me from MSG in a meal or snacks or any other sources. Although, of course, I go out of my way to avoid MSG. But if I'm, for example, going out to eat in a social setting and I want to participate in that dinner with the other people, and it might be at a restaurant that I'm not familiar with, and it might be that maybe they use shiitake mushrooms or some other MSG sources in their food, and I don't know about it. Well, I might choose to just protect myself before I start eating by taking this little tiny amount of methylene blue powder and putting it in the water, and then consuming that. And it turns the water like dark, dark blue, almost black. And that's the way I do it. Now, if you buy methylene blue as a liquid supplement, usually it's sold as a 1% formula. So it's 99% deionized water, typically, and then 1% methylene blue. And even that is very, very richly blue. And I should mention, we now have methylene blue available at our store. It's not our brand, but it's a brand that and people that I trust, and we've done all the lab tests on it as well. So that's available at healthrangerstore.com. Just search for the word blue, and you'll find it there while supplies last. But just understand, I'm not recommending methylene blue as a daily dietary supplement. Not yet. Perhaps I will one day if I am convinced by more research, but I need to do that research, and I haven't done it yet. I'm also not suggesting that methylene blue is a treatment for influenza or cancer or anything like that. I'm saying it blocks glutamate receptors. And it does that very, very well. And that alone is a reason to have it where you don't need it every day, but in emergency situations or going out to eat situations, then it can be very helpful at protecting you, especially if you're hypersensitive to MSG, like I am. But it's also worth mentioning that I think this is an essential part of an emergency medicine kit, because having it around, I mean, this stuff, it doesn't go bad. It doesn't denature. It doesn't mold or rot or anything. It just sits there being blue. How was your day today? Oh, I felt kind of blue. Methylene blue? Yeah, methylene blue. You can keep it around for emergency situations where you think you might have exposure to like nerve damaging things. It could be maybe you live out in the country and you're going into the city and you're going to be inundated with a bunch of electromagnetic signals and waves and 5G and everything. You want extra brain protection. Well, you could consider using it to protect your brain cells against the reactive oxygen species. It just so happens that I'm very much aware that 5G signals, when combined, when they penetrate your body, they can create peroxynitrite molecules. And peroxynitrites are highly reactive oxygen species category of molecules. They are very, very dangerous. They can cause genetic mutations in your cells, and that's just from 5G exposure. So is there a credible, plausible line of thinking about methylene blue potentially protecting your brain against the peroxynitrite formed due to exposure to 5G signals? Yes, that's a plausible but not proven application of this substance. Again, I wouldn't take it every day. I'm always skeptical of non-agricultural products, but I would definitely have this for certain situations, and I do have it for certain situations. I'm noticing from the, what is this? This is a compounding pharmacy that talks about how a daily dose in some of the medical experiments was just 15 milligrams per day. 15 milligrams. Wow. That's small. That's small. And that's in the powder form, if you were to get it in powder form. If that were a liquid form, you'd have to essentially, you'd have to multiply that by 100, because it's usually a 1% formula in water. So you'd have to do the math on that to get how many drops or, how many milliliters in effect, or maybe it's microliters that would be as a liquid. Probably would be more like a milliliter or more, I'm guessing. So the bottom line here is that this is just really great news. This is fantastic news, not only for those of us who are highly sensitive to MSG. Like I said, I wish I had known about methylene blue 25 years ago, but also for those of you who even don't suffer from MSG headaches and things like that, but you're eating yeast extract and MSG and soy sauce and all kinds of flavoring and things like that. You're eating it. It's not giving you the headaches, but it still may be causing nerve damage, and you could protect yourself from that nerve damage. And the way to do that is to just consume the methylene blue before you eat that meal. It's really that simple. And the methylene blue gets distributed in your body very quickly, I found out, and it passes through the blood-brain barrier and protects your brain cells from the oxidation reaction that is one of the toxic effects of glutamate. It's what makes glutamate an excitotoxin. The other interesting thing that I found is that when I use methylene blue, I did not have to use any of the other supplements, such as magnesium, resveratrol, etc. I only use methylene blue, and it alone achieved a 100% blocking of the glutamate. And I had not found 100% effectiveness with any other single substance. And even those other substances, when combined, they may only achieve 50% effectiveness, possibly, but nowhere near 100%. But methylene blue is 100%. But here's the trick, or the trap. You have to take methylene blue before you have the glutamate exposure. It has to be done before. So if you suspect, like if you're going to go eat a Chinese meal at a restaurant, or you're eating a gravy that somebody made from a gravy mix, or a taco seasoning mix, or even like rotisserie chicken from the store, anything like that. Even a lot of the chicken products that are in the frozen food section, they're loaded with MSG. Canned soups, loaded with MSG. Ranch salad dressing, loaded. Kentucky Fried Chicken, half of its menu contains MSG. And there's MSG in all the fast food restaurants. I mentioned them yesterday. If you want to protect yourself, take methylene blue before you consume those things. How long before? It can just be a couple minutes before or right before. Because it takes time for the MSG to circulate and to get digested, etc. And the methylene blue, being in a liquid form, is going to be biodistributed more quickly than anything that's in a food form. So just take methylene blue before the meal, and you now have a defensive shield to protect your brain cells against excitotoxins. How cool is that? This is one of the best secrets I've ever learned about nutrition and shielding yourself from all of the toxins. This is really amazing information. So use it wisely. And of course, if you want to support our store, just shop at healthrangerstore.com. You can pick up methylene blue there. And again, we do all the lab testing on it. Just to be clear, I'm not claiming that methylene blue treats or reverses or prevents any disease. I'm just saying it blocks glutamate receptors. And sure enough, it does. And it does so very effectively. Okay, there's one other substance that I want to mention here that is a prescription drug. This prescription drug acts on glutamate receptors. Now, I've never used this drug, and I'm not recommending it, but I just want you to know this is what came up in my research from Enoch. There's a drug out there called memantine, or memantine, memantine. It's an Alzheimer's drug, and it's an NMDA receptor antagonist. So it says here it controls the excessive activity of the glutamatergic system in the brain. All right. Some researchers have suggested that memantine, however you say it, can block the toxic effects of MSG. And MSG toxicity is believed to also contribute to conditions like Alzheimer's disease. So if you're wondering why so many people are getting Alzheimer's these days, MSG is part of the answer why, because people are frying their brains all the time. So anyway, memantine, if you happen to have that drug around, that could also be an emergency use drug, possibly. I'm not recommending it. I don't know the side effects. I'm not your doctor. But just saying that came up in the research. I would personally prefer to have methylene blue. So before I let you go here, if you want to read about some of the other amazing natural cures that I've been covering recently with the help of Enoch, our research engine, just go to naturalnews.com and look at my articles on the left column. I've got articles about DMSO, plus a blue dye known as hematoxylin, which is a topical cancer cure, it turns out. Yeah, DMSO drives the dye into your tissue, and that dye starves cancer cells. It's amazing how effective it is, and it can treat many different types of cancer, and also it helps treat scars and ligament injuries and all kinds of astonishing things. And I've benefited from DMSO, but it needs to be used with caution as well. And if you use DMSO with the hematoxylin dye, just understand that if you rub it on yourself with your finger, it will turn your finger blue. So if you if you ever see me at the studio with blue fingers on camera, like, what happened? Did he go partial Smurf today? He's got blue fingers. What's going on? Understand that that's because I was putting DMSO plus hematoxylin somewhere on my body, and without using a latex glove or anything like that. That's why my finger turned blue. And I'll give you another little secret. If my finger is orange, and it would always be my right finger, if you've ever seen my finger being orange on video, it's because I store turmeric powder in a large glass jar, like a giant mason jar. And when I spoon out turmeric powder to put into my smoothie every day, the way I hold the spoon and have to reach deep into the jar, it always gets orange powder right on my knuckle of my index finger. And sometimes I end up on camera, oh, orange finger. Yeah, that was from my smoothie. And I also do that with our beet juice powder that we also sell at healthrangerstore.com. It's organic beet juice. And when I reach into that bag, pouch, also sometimes I get like red beet juice on my knuckle, and it looks like my finger is bleeding, but it's not. That's just beet juice. So you know what I did that day by seeing if my finger's blue, orange, or red. That determines what I've been doing before I came to the studio. All right, so bottom line about MSG toxicity is, number one, your best strategy is to avoid exposure. So don't eat processed foods, don't eat junk foods, don't eat foods. Avoid soy sauce, use coconut aminos instead, like I said yesterday. Avoid these sources if you can. But if you're going to be exposed to hidden MSG, yeast extract, which is in a lot of so-called natural foods, oh, it's all natural, there's no MSG, they say on the label, but it's loaded with yeast extract, right? These deceptive food companies. Then what you got to do is protect yourself with methylene blue. And try it, try it yourself. See what you think. It's an amazing discovery. And check out my other special reports at naturalnews.com and follow my podcasts at brighteon.com. And thank you for listening. Take care. All right, we've got some really exciting new products at healthrangerstore.com, and I've got some on my desk I want to share with you. We have a new creamy tomato instant soup that's all certified organic, all laboratory tested, with incredibly clean, pristine ingredients. It's amazingly delicious, and I'd like to even show you, if you go to healthrangerstore.com and you click on the organic creamy tomato instant soup, if you scroll down to the ingredients, like look at this list. Organic heavy cream powder, okay? Real cream, not just artificial substitute garbage. Organic tomato powder, cheddar cheese powder, also organic, and butter powder. A little bit of guar gum for thickener, coconut sugar, slight amount of pink Himalayan salt. Again, onion powder, garlic powder, black pepper number 60 mesh. That's just the size of the black pepper. And that's it. No artificial colors, no MSG, no yeast extract, everything's organic. Except the salt, which of course is an inorganic crystalline structure, but everything's organic that can be organic. It's incredibly delicious. It's got a very long shelf life. We have it in number 10 cans and we have it in these pouches. It's available now at healthrangerstore.com. And we're producing more ready to go food formulas. So not just the macaroni and cheese that we have that's been very popular, even hard for us to keep in stock, but also this tomato soup mix and much more coming. And that's cool. Can you show that side shot again? This is actually over here. These are pine needles under the microscope, because I was just filming a microscope segment. Can you see that? And I'm zooming around the microscope. Look, check this out. We can even zoom in on these pine needles. I've got like this remote control microscope here. I have a whole nother segment on that if you want to see our new microscope and what we're doing with that. But we're using the best technology to look at food and to be able to find contaminants, not just visually with microscopy, but also, of course, with our ISO accredited mass spec laboratory. So we do the heavy metals testing, we do the glyphosate testing, we do aflatoxin testing, we do E. coli, salmonella, yeast, and mold testing, and much more, in order to make sure that you are getting the cleanest food available anywhere on this planet. Our contaminated world is not a safe place to eat. It's like a minefield, and we help you navigate that minefield with laboratory-tested, ultra-clean, and certified organic foods and superfoods and nutritional supplements. Let me tell you about another one. We have green tea tincture here as well, and it's a non-alcohol formula, so it's certified organic. Here it is, green tea tincture, naturally high in L-theanine, which is one of the miraculous molecules of green tea. And here you can read about it here. And it's a glycerin tincture as well. And green tea, of course, has EGCG and various catechins that have all kinds of amazing benefits for health. And I blend in a little bit of green tea into my smoothie as well. So, on top of turmeric and on top of whey protein and some of the other things that I use, because I'm powered by superfoods every single day. And then on top of that, we have this ultra delicious, we've got these new mango slices here. These are chewy, certified organic, laboratory tested mango slices. It's called soft dried, and it's just right for a snack. And I'm drooling a little bit because these are better than candy. They're like, if you're craving candy bars or something, try some of these. It's the best snack that you could think of. These organic mango slices, just ready to go. You could toss them in a purse or a backpack. Excuse me. You can take them on an airplane. You can take them to work, whatever. And we've got apple slices as well, the same kind of format right here. Now, you know, these aren't inexpensive, but they're ready to go, and you don't have to go out to a store and slice them up and figure out how to seal them up and so on. These are just ready to go. So it's convenient but healthy food. It's fast food but incredibly healthy, organic, lab tested, you know, super fruits basically, at least the mango. So check all of that out at healthrangerstore.com. Enjoy these products. They have amazing taste. They are loaded with amazing nutrients, and they're subjected to all of our protocols of laboratory testing and, you know, analysis and contaminant testing for all kinds of different things that we do. Plus, they're certified organic. You're going to get the cleanest foods and supplements at healthrangerstore.com. And thank you for supporting us here at Brighteon.com and naturalnews.com and healthrangerstore.com. And it's because of your purchases, by the way, that we can even afford to purchase things like this amazing microscope here, that I'll be bringing you a whole slew of videos with microscopy that will just blow your mind. We're going to be looking at a lot of things. So a big public education effort here and a food safety education effort that's tied to the ability to be able to visualize at high magnification all kinds of foods and products off the shelf. So all that's coming, and thank you for your support. Again, green tea tincture, the organic tomato soup, we've got the mango slices, the apple slices, and so much more. Shop with us at healthrangerstore.com. You will love every bite. And remember, our motto is healing the world with clean foods. We want you to maximize your potential, to maximize your health and your longevity. And we believe that producing ultra clean, verified, and incredibly delicious real food with no garbage, no fillers, no artificial colors, no MSG, none of that garbage, we believe that this is the way that we can help you pursue your purpose in life and stay healthy in the process. So thank you for supporting us. I'm Mike Adams, the founder of Brighteon and the Health Ranger Store. Take care.